Hi guys, Charmel Flemming here from FTwelve. Today we've invited Jodene Shaer from Lifeology Media, the co-founder thereof, and we're just going to have a chat about the very different year 2020 was. So Jodene, thanks very much for joining and taking part in our conversation. So could you just tell us a little bit more about you as a person and then Lifeology Media as well?
Sure. So thank you so much for having me, especially because we're talking about 2020. It's so linked to what I do. Within Lifeology, I am co-owner with my business partner, Greg, who lives in the UK. So we're proudly international. And we really work in the space of people development. So Greg and I both are transformation coaches. And then I do tarot, numerology, and use all of those tools to guide people in their process of discovering themselves more consciously. That's what the focus of everything that I do is do you have all the tools that you need to consciously understand yourself? And this really came about because I was around in the time when a lot of the self-help work was coming out, and what was happening is it's just somebody else's tools, and nobody knows what it means to discover your own tools and take your own steps. And before you do that, you won't be able to use any other tool. So that's how Lifeology really came about. And then I do swap hats, and I'm a social media strategist. And that came about by me putting myself and the business and Greg out on social media and being noticed in 2010 or 2011. And it just opened a whole new avenue. So one of the big things that we really advocate in Lifeology is don't get too stuck on these goals and plans, because then life's just going to throw you a totally different career that you never thought you were going to have. It was completely so out the box. So my social media passion has never been on my radar, but is so completely out the box, and it's something that I absolutely love. That's me.
I think it's so important to not get stuck in your ways and not and you just need to be so flexible. So Jodene, 2020 was a different year. And so how did that impact and affect your business? And I'd like you to discuss all your different hats you wear.
So it's amazing to come in and say, I'm a transformation coach, and then within the space of Lifeology, and then to have the second division of the social media agency, which was called Chat Factory. And I'm saying was because 2020 came so left field. Greg was actually in South Africa at the time when COVID was really starting to set in, and he was on a timeline to get out of the country because the president was about to speak. And when he landed back in the UK, he phoned me and he said to me, "Jo, I've just had this realization. All our clients are in the exhibition industry." So I had so proudly infiltrated myself as social media strategist and account manager for some of the most incredible expos across the country. And he's like, what happens if the exhibition industry shuts down? So we kind of waited with bated breath, because you can't make decisions until something happens. There was no real foreplanning. And literally 3 phone calls all in the same week after the president had spoken. Every single expo that we ran had definitely put themselves on hold until at least September 2020. So we had to sit down, look at the finances and go, could we survive until September 2020? And that is the worst case scenario. So Greg's question to me was, can you replace all these clients by September 2020? And the answer was no. So we had to go through the retrenchment process. And then when we worked with the labor lawyer said, well, you actually shouldn't be closing. You shouldn't be retrenching now. You need to put them on get them into all of the, we call it furlough because he's there. So we're always talking about it. And it was too risky. So we had to close Chat Factory. So we actually, in essence, lost a business from COVID.
And it's such and thank you for sharing the vulnerability, because it is such a difficult as a business owner to say we had to make that decision to just shut it down. And it's a difficult, and it's mentally draining, and I commend you for sharing that with us. Thank you very much for being that vulnerable with us.
Okay, I'm going to tell you how vulnerable I was, just so that you know. That on the Saturday, we had made the decision on the Friday, and I needed to speak to the labor lawyer. I had spoken to the labor lawyer on Friday. And because I had such an incredible bond with my staff, I asked the labor lawyer if she needed to be present. She said she didn't. It was unusual circumstances, but she didn't. And I could do a Zoom as long as I recorded it. And I was washing the dishes on Saturday morning, and it just hit me that I had this team that I had built up for 8 years, and this business that I put my heart and soul into. And I cried. I literally cried over that basin. And then I was sitting on the floor, just letting this all sink. I actually just let it sink in that Saturday morning and cried my heart out at what I had to do. That's the real vulnerability of it.
Yeah, it is. It's such a tough year. So, Jodene, I know that you offer a course on money as part of your service offering. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? And if you can, how that helped you as Jodene manage and navigate 2020?
So funny, because Greg and I redid the course ourselves in order to navigate ourselves through. And the whole point of this course fits exactly into what Lifeology always talks about. You need to understand these personal steps before you can take the other steps. So in the money work that in the course that we do, it doesn't have anything to do with budgets. We don't even look at your money processing. We look at your relationship with money. So it's first of all explains so that you deeply understand the law of attraction, and then it explains how money works, the actual energy of money. So we're taking the alignment of how you energetically process yourself, and then how money needs to connect with you. And one of the big lessons in this money course is that so many things can go wrong. You can be in an unhealthy relationship, you can be in an unhappy job, and you can get bashed around, you can get burnt out, you can be absolutely fatigued, you can be as miserable as you want to be, and you won't make changes. But when money stuff kicks in, you have to make changes. So we actually talk about money as your greatest energetic ally. And the process is to understand that money is always moving you in the direction of your highest esteem, your greater potential. And then we look at the process of figuring out this relationship with money, and what is money trying to tell you and teach you in all of these lessons. So that's what the work is. And it's so different because we're not asking you within the spreadsheet that you have or within the budget that you have. We're not saying you are spending so much on rent, can you afford it? We are saying, how do you energetically feel about paying rent? How do you energetically feel about paying an investment or insurance? And when I've worked with some people, we've had to process a lot of the resentment to paying certain things. And a big process that we do is this intimate relationship that you have with money, when you actually learn to question and say to money, I'm open, I'm listening. What is the direction? What is the guidance? And then to have this thank you money response, because it's been amazing that it's gotten so tight. I'm not going to lie. It's another thing that I'm going to be really vulnerable about, is that we haven't had a bank account like this in years and years and years, but there's enough, and we don't have to worry at this particular moment, but we are conscious, and it's pushing us to do different things. And that's what we have done. And one of my big examples is that the social media, I'm really good at it, but it took so much of my time, and I didn't realize until it was literally taken away from me. And it was like, I've got this time, what do I do? And now this transformation coaching, I have been reading tarot for 16 years, and it's the first time I've ever charged for it. And I can literally hear money saying to me, you have this talent, people need this, they need to understand themselves through numerology, they need this transformation coaching. So that's how we work with money, and that's how I've really been working with it through this time.
That's absolutely beautiful. And what I appreciated is, because I'm always speaking numbers, I find myself, I can't speak about money if I'm not putting numbers in, because then it just doesn't make sense to me. So I think that is such a beautiful way of looking at money. So I'm going to ask two more questions. So the one question